A special YouTube channel representation with a special subscriber milestone. A special YouTube channel milestone subscriber milestone representation. As one day might say, it is worth the presentation. A special YouTube channel subscriber milestone representation. A special celebratory representation of subscriber presentations representing. Well, it gives me specially real pleasure in making this videography videoed announcement and making this special video representation. Well, this is technically a special channel representation, of course. I forgot to do that introduction. Oh, my apologies. Hello, everybody. Hello. But it gives me enormously real pleasure in announcing and representing this very video, showcasing the grip of captivated depth of everything, that a YouTuber, he's not extremely famously well known, but he is fairly high profile in various bits and pieces. He's really not too far off the 9.65k subscriber milestone. He and his wife, they're both Brits living abroad. They're very good when it comes to working with the tourists and dolphins and on the boats. Well, this man, they both got individual YouTube channels. One's got more than the others, though I personally think they deserve both 50k, 60,000 subscribers plus individually between the two of them. One channel having over 60,000 plus and the other channel having over 60,000 plus subscribers. I really do personally believe they both deserve 60,000 and a combined 120,000 subscribers in total, and certainly more. I certainly think so too. They deserve far more than what they've currently got. And he's also a licensed pilot, despite although I'm not sure, I don't think he's flown an airplane from an airport to huge international airport to another huge international airport abroad. I don't think he's done that, but he has piloted other old planes, I would think. I'm trying to remember, because he got his pilot's license back in the 1990s. He's spoken about it before. This man, he needs no introduction. Graham the Baron Hesketh, or Captain Graham the Baron Hesketh, as he is. He makes a good captain when it comes to moderating for trolling and all that within my content or Trevor's content or anyone's content. He is a moderator too. He really does make a fantastic moderator. And Graham's channel, back in June, I think it was the latter part of June of 2024, his channel hit 9.6k subscribers, and it's edging closer now to 9.65k subscribers. I have to say, Graham, a big well done, extremely big well done on your 9.6k plus subscriber milestone, where you're getting very close to 9.65k subscribers now. So well done on your achievements and your brilliant milestone. I've appeared with Graham and Fiona before, about 4 times now. I've had the pleasure of appearing on their content 4 times, namely within the Avid Gardener channel, but I have appeared on Graham's channel, his main channel, when he did a VR flight simulator. Well, it was temporarily myself, Sapper and Graham, and this was when this begins the debut, the showcase debut of the banter myself and Sapper have. Because I mentioned my weight, my 11 stone or 154 pounds of weight, and then Sapper was reflecting, gosh, trying to remember when I was 11 stone and all that, and I was like, before 2021, before I was 20 years of age, I was 9 stone 4 pounds, and then he was like, skinny git. Well, to tell oneself off things, when I was 9 stone 4 pounds or 130 pounds, prior to 2021, I really was skinny git weight back in those days. Oh God, we go 130 pounds, that's nearly 2 stone lighter than what I currently am now at 154 pounds, or or 11 stone, because 11 stone's 154 pounds in the American neck of the woods, or 70 kilos, which is also the equivalent translated correspondence of, you know. And since that time on and off, since Sap had referred to me as a skinny git, we've had this banter together. We've been trading weight banter together ever since that moment, and on all the rest of things. But we're generally on even terms, and we're generally friends. And even Graham, and I'm always on generally good terms with Graham. We've never had any trouble with our friendship relationship in the slightest at all. Oh no, certainly not. And how I found out about Graham was, it was Graham who found out about my content first. Going back to May of 2023, now just over a year ago, it was just after the King's coronation date, and he was looking, and as it turned out, he said it on a video, he was looking up videos of Brighton, only to have found out about my video. He commented on it, but I mean the video, mine really could have done with being a lot better than it really was. To be honest with you, when looking back, I think I did screw up quite a bit. I think I really did screw up greatly on it. But, but we were on even terms. We were conversing together, and we had a good chat. Though it was initial disappointment, it was a good meet. And then later on, I heard from him again from time to time, and and he was he didn't have to, he was generously taking me under his wing from time to time whenever chance allowed, and all that. And it wasn't until months later that I stumbled across his and Fiona's content and all that. It's a story I've not shared before, but in reference to Graham, the wonderful, one and only Graham the Baron Hesketh, it just took a valuable encountering for it to eventually turn into a lifelong friendship between the two of us. And of course Graham eventually, I introduced David's content to Graham and Fiona, and of course it was only a few months later, after Graham first encountered my content, that I came on a live stream he did. And I remember that live stream, the September 2023 live stream, and gosh, what a valuable live stream it was. Certainly did I enjoy it. I got a great thrill of enjoyment from it, and that was when I first became familiar and was first acquainted with wonderful lady Tony Stark, Susan Like, Rosie, the Scots lady Rosie, Sandra Parrott, and who else was there? There was Rhea, Marcia, Leslia. I know Leslia was on at the time. Caroline Ford was on at the time. Caroline Ford in Australia. I mean, my goodness, there were just so many to list out when I saw so many people on the live stream itself. Wow, so many. And when I became conversant, it was Rosie I first became conversant with, and I later on became conversant with a few others, but the one who I was probably most conversant with, and it was really it was extremely valuable and moving to me when I look back on it, was when I became most conversant with the lovely lady Tony Stark, the Okie lady based over in Oklahoma, and her personality traits remind me of that of my wonderful friend Heather's personality traits, and I couldn't be more thankful to have a wonderful friendship with Tony herself, and I couldn't be more fortunate too to have a good friendship with Graham and Fiona too, as they mean a lot to me, and they, even 1 year into the friendship, since the valuable encountering, we are just friends, like we're just close friends, like crossed fingers, like tightly crossed fingers, like that, now. And I consider Graham and Fiona to be one of my best friends, to tell you all things. Obviously not replacing them with David Scott, but of course but one of my best friends. Even Trevor and Gwen are one of my best friends too, to tell everybody all things, you know. I mean, I had the fortunate pleasure of, since that very live stream, little did I realise, a few short days later, the face of my content was going to change for life, and little did I realise it was going to lead to such a transformational life change since encountering Graham and Fiona. You know, I really did, and little did I expect Fiona. I mean, she really didn't have to, but she did the video representing my content, and she got almost emotional when she got quite emotional when she did it. I mean, I felt for Fiona, but I thanked her profusely for the video she did, because it was a video I'd done, and I just got a huge number of comments in that very video, and everybody was saying, "I've just came over from Fiona. Fiona's sending us here." I got it. Just what comments and comments, one after the other, at the time when it happened. Little did I expect it, but it happened. And then not too long after, Trevor ended up representing me. By this point, I was not even remotely familiar of Trevor, but then I saw the video and I thanked Trevor profusely, and we've been friends ever since. He's one of my best friends. I consider him to be, you know. And there were some valuable experiences. They really were something extremely valuable to have experienced. But little could I've expected it to happen, you know. But really, at the same time, I'm extremely thankful and grateful for it. And I could never take Graham and Fiona for granted, because they're my wonderful friends. And it was at the time when Graham was still having when he had his cancer issues, before they went over to Greater London, first to have the check for the surgeon to see Graham for the meeting, to check on him and to talk about, you know, what could go wrong with the surgery and what to expect, you know, and so on. And then it was the subsequent month later he had the surgery to be cured of, which Fiona said the surgery arrested the cancer, but because it was fortunately an operable tumour, thank goodness, and thank goodness it wasn't terminal. It was cancerous, yes, but was it terminal? Thank goodness, no. But Graham, obviously, following surgery, had to have the hospital appointment every 3 months, I think, and is monitored for about 5 years since the time it happened. But the thing that really angered me, and really got me very, very irate and wound up, was when his the ghastly internet trolling group that has been picking and going after Graham, Fiona, and worse, their children, their daughter, was when they laughed about Graham having cancer and laughed at his cancer ordeal. And I went mad. I went mad and stood up as much as I could for Graham and Fiona. I mean, my irritability just went overdrive when I saw that. I mean, I was devastated. Not only was I not just devastated, but I was angry. I was angry when there were these people laughing at somebody who had just been put through the pains with having a cancer ordeal. I nearly went bananas. I think, admittedly, I nearly went bananas, but all I really wanted to do was defend my friends. You know, I mean, how would anybody like for their relative to be put through the pains of cancer, and yet somebody's laughing at them for it? Just diabolic. Dreadfully awful. Wrong. Oh dear. But sorry if I sounded annoyed. I was just explaining something. I wasn't trying to have a rant. I really was not. Do be assured. But had it not been for Graham and Fiona, since encountering Graham and Fiona, I've had the privileged fortune of encountering such wonderful new friends. I've got swathes of new friends I've encountered through Graham and Fiona, you know, to tell you on things. But my 11 most favourite ones, obviously I'll showcase the 11 most favourite and most loved newfound friends of mine who I've encountered through Graham and Fiona, and those who I'm most trusting of towards. I'm trusting of all of my friends through Graham and Fiona, but there are only 11 I am particularly trusting towards since seeing them and knowing there's a lot of good in them. They're really, I mean, I'm really seeing the good in them. The 11 ones who I'm most trusting of, I'm certainly very greatly entrusting towards Graham and Fiona and Trevor, certainly the Hutches, not to mention, the Hutches as well. The ones I'm most trusting of, if I may start showcasing the grip of listing and things, goes with Tony Stark, the lovely lady, oaky lady Tony Stark that is, Mary Ipock, and of course her much loved, dearly loved husband Glenn, classic car enthusiasts like myself, as they got classic cars, and also they have an affinity for cats, and love cats in the same way that I love cats. Sandra Parrott, Graham generally is generally quite conversant and is also in touch with Sandra, which did surprise me greatly. But and that was when I did the lives, came on the live. I was first acquainted. We didn't really converse. We did, but I think the chat, it went too fast for poor Sandra. But not to worry. I could understand why she wasn't entirely conversant with, not just me, or not always that conversant with Graham and Fiona. I think at least to a certain degree, just about was able to be conversant with Graham and Fiona. But I think it was others in the chat she had difficulty trying to keep up with the conversations, because even for me, but I did try my best to at least analyse and try and answer as best as I could. The chat did, admittedly, I must say, it did go pretty fast, which can happen sometimes on a live. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes it's fast at first but slows down gradually, but sometimes it's just fast all the way through. But a live chat is a live chat, and that's what it does, I'm afraid, to philosophically point things out. No, but Sandra, the unconditional love in the friendship with Sandra, and certainly with Tony and Mary, is valuable. I'll get to that later. I need to do the listing. Not explaining. Oh goodness, what was I doing? Yes, lovely lady Sandra Parrott. Mrs. Murphy, the wonderful Scots lady, Mrs. Murphy, who had been put through the pains with a lot of health trouble and the loss of her dearly loved husband back in January of 2021, nearly 11 months after I lost that of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund, which, I'll get to that part later and all that. Or in another video or something like that, but I have actually spoken and opened up to Graham and Fiona about the loss of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund, to tell everybody odd things. And yes, but she's always so lovely and full of lovingly, kindly, pleasant. Sandra herself is, and one cannot help but adore the pleasance she enormously retains in herself, that Sandra has, or Mrs. Murphy. She's equally has good retained pleasance like that of Sandra herself, to tell oneself odd things. And lovely lady Rosie, the Rosie in the Alabama resident, to tell oneself odd things. And Susan Reich in New York City in the United States of America. Who couldn't love Susan? She is just wonderful. Really, truly a wonderful lady. Wonderful, delightful lady, I must say. And brilliant, and oh, oh, I didn't mean to cry because of what she said. That moved me so visibly, No, I'm trying not to cry when I mention her. But always is the unconditional love with her extremely valuable, to the point where it can be emotionally moving, visibly. But because of what she said to me, that moved me so visibly. The emotionality of visibility and the depth of what she said to me. Never could I forget that in a lifetime. The lady, the one I'm referring to next after Susan, she needs no introduction, Michelle Pope in North Wales. None of us could forget her. all of us love Michelle, particularly Graham and Fiona. They particularly love Michelle, and I particularly love her too, in the same way they love Michelle. I like to tell oneself odd things. And Elaine Williams, a nice and a friendly Londoner resident with good decency retained in her personality. Lovely lady Elaine Williams. Caroline Allen, honestly, a lovingly friendly Canadian resident, and she lives over in Canada, and she's Canadian, like that of Heather, my wonderful friend Heather in Canada. And Rosie, this is the Scots lady Rosie, also a fellow classic car enthusiast. I mean, I didn't realise she was a classic car enthusiast until she spoke about it to me when we first became acquainted with one another through the live stream session that Graham and Fiona did that September of 2023, when things began to change, led to the transformational life change within a few short days after, but even though I had little realisation this would happen. And of course Catherine, lovely lady Catherine in Iceland. I mean, who couldn't love her? She's got a great depth of fantastic courtesy, and of course a pleasantly friendly nature. Catherine herself does. In a way, her personality traits reminds me of that of my good friend Kat from South Carolina. I'm trying to remember, is it South Carolina or North Carolina? Now, I think it's either one state where Cat D is who I'm referring to, not Catherine T, but Cat D, but I don't know what the cat is short for. Possibly Catherine or Katrina or Catherine, I don't know. But she'll probably tell me another time for whenever I next hear from her. I haven't heard from her for a long time, but I'm sure we'll hear from each other another time. But she's a cruise enthusiast, the cat, not Catherine, but the cat in Carolina, in America I'm referring to. She's a cruise enthusiast, so I think she's enjoying a cruise, very possibly. But no offence, Cat, I didn't mean any offence when saying this to you, of course. But I do think you'd like Graham and Fiona too. Just my opinion, but I'll leave it for you to decide if you've been watching. But I know Heather's viewed Graham and Fiona from time to time, and I think I tried to remember whether she did or not, tell me her review of Graham and Fiona to me or not. But I'm trying to remember, but I'm sure she'll tell me, and all that. I'm pretty sure she'll tell me of everything, and all that. So, but other wonderful notable friends through Graham and Fiona, I mean, I'm not going to say all of them because the list is extensive and incredibly long, but other notable friends include that of lovely lady Duchess Lisa, lovely Lisa in the Pennsylvania US state. Carol Casey over in Australia. Oh, she is just lovely. Oh, she has one of the most lovingly wonderful personality traits, and she's always got a very nice, kindly approach towards me, and it moves the soul depth of my heart whenever hearing from her. Not only is because of her courtesy, but also the love she expresses, not only just to me, but also the love she expresses to Graham and Fiona too. So Carol Casey, Carol Tapia, also equally as lovingly friendly. Not quite as lovingly friendly as Carol Casey, but she's got a very nice, loving and kindly depth of personality traits. To say some things, Ginger, I used to come under the impression it was Grutzius, but she did recently tell me it's pronounced Grutzius. So it's Ginger Grutzius, just to remind all of you who do view Graham and Fiona. Laurie French, lovely. Oh, Laurie is always lovely. I hear from Laurie fairly regularly. Obviously we have things going on in our lives, but I do hear from her every week, generally every week, Laurie, and same with Mary too, and that's always it's a nice thing, and but never mind if not, but it's always nice whenever we hear from each other. Lovely lady Laurie French, Babette in Reading. We're both England residents, but she's Reading and I'm Brighton. Babette, oh, she's always very nice and friendly and always supportive, always very supportive too. Suzanne Baxter, Karen McCarthy, another example, and a lovely lady called Clara, and also Carla, Wales resident. Oh, she's wonderful. She is always friendly and wonderful to tell oneself odd things. And Gladys. There are about 2 Gladyses, and there's a Glynis. I think she views Graham and Fiona too, a Glynis, because she came on a live stream of mine. Deborah Coleman, who was friends with a 7-foot man. That's how she could be well known in my neck of the woods and the content. Oh, goodness. And the lady, she needs no introduction. Rhea Snakespeare, Marcia Toms, Susan Elkin, Susan, I think it's Susan Clive, because there's about 3 Susans I know. Susan Reich I already just mentioned, Susan Elkin Justin. I think it's either Susan Clive or Susan Clyde, I don't know, that's my guess. There's a Christine Prince, Christine Sockup, and who else is there? Oh yes, Joy Earls, lovely Joy Earls. Jodie, lovely lady Jodie from Alberta in Canada, and Tilly, Maggie P. Maggie, Tilly and Maggie. I could compare both their personality traits. Their personality traits, I would compare their personality traits being similar to both of theirs. You know, they're always wonderful and friendly as usual, I must say. And Lisa Perch, that's another example. Oh, who couldn't love Lisa Perch? I mean, she may be I wouldn't say overprotective, no. Protective, yes. She may be a protective lady, but despite her protective behaviour, there is such a lot of unconditional love in her heart. I mean, really there is. She's got a huge, loving heart. Lisa Perch herself has. I mean, a proper, huge, loving heart. I mean, honestly, even if she was protective towards me, I would understand because of the unconditional, the unconditional love she strongly possesses in herself, the lovingly strong protectiveness, you know, but she's got it in the most unconditionally, lovingly, best way possible, her protective side. And even if she was protective towards me, you know, and I was like, oh, come on, I would like to do this, come on, and all that. She's like, no, we don't want you to get hurt, I just don't want to see you hurt, come on. I was like, oh, please. And she'd be, look, come here. Oh gosh, before one would know it, they're just embraced in a hug, in a protective hug by her. I am very protective of you, but please, all I want for you is to be safe. It's okay, please. You don't need to get angry just because I'm protective. Oh, thank you, Lisa. But no, but my apologies if that was too much for you, Lisa, if you saw it. My apologies indeed, oh dear. You know, Lisa Perch, Leslie McDougall, another example. Caroline Ford, yes, certainly another example indeed. Dawn Marie Smith, Dawn Marie, I love Dawn Marie. I mean, Dawn Marie, she's the kind of friend who really, whenever you're hearing from her, only for when, not always, but generally speaking, whenever one hears from Dawn Marie from time to time, I always feel as though she's wrapping her arm around my shoulder affectionately whenever hearing from her, and whenever I hear receiving her strong grip of support and things. You know, she put up, sometimes I feel she's affectionately wrapping her arm around my shoulder, and if she did that with me in real life, I would put my arm affectionately around her shoulder and be leaning my head against hers. I mean, Dawn Marie is just always wonderful. Always is she wonderful. You know, I mean, who couldn't love her? You know. And as a Dawn Rowlands, Dawn. I've never conversed with Dawn herself. I've never conversed with Dawn. But if I'm on a live and she's present, I'll try and say hello to her. I mean, she said something quite funny on a live stream. She's talking about having like a certain alcoholic drink. I'm trying to remember what it was. I can't remember what drink she said it was, but I can't remember. But she said, she's talking about a certain drink of alcohol type in the early afternoon, late morning, and you know, if she's ever on a live, I'd have to be. That was so funny when you spoke about having a drink of an alcohol type in the afternoon, and I would probably say to her, I would have a nice wine or a sherry with you any early afternoon or any lunchtime, Dawn. I would certainly do that with you. You know, I would have a drink. I think she's North Wales, like that of Michelle. And you know, I mean, Dawn, what you said on the Trooping March live stream, that was just so funny. I wasn't present at the time when you said it when it was live. I saw it via the replay, and I just burst into laughter when I saw that. But Dawn, I'd have a nice alcoholic drink with you any lunchtime. If I'm ever over in North Wales in the future and I run into you, I would have a nice alcoholic drink with you any lunchtime, be it a wine or a sherry with our lunch. I would have one with you any lunchtime in the future. As that much more could certainly indeed be said, you know. And I think before long I'm going to run out of people because there's just so many, and I've got so many friends, you know. It's hard to keep a tracking list of them. Or in full enlistment and things, but there you are. Ooh dear. Oh yes, Teddy's mummy, the owner of Teddy the Maine Coon cat. She's a Wales resident. Oh, is she wonderful. Always is she lovely and wonderful. Harriet, Harriet and I, we've got something in common together. Both of us, as children, in our childhood, we both looked up and loved our wonderful late grandfathers. That much more could be said. We both loved and looked up to our late grandfathers. Sapper, the huge git, and we always have our weight banter together. Sapper and I. Skinny git. Hello, huge git. What? I hope your 16, 17 stone arse doesn't break a chair sitting down on it, something like that. Oh, gosh. Piss off, Foxy, mate. I'm sorry, whoa, just be careful what your 17 stone arse would do. Excuse the language. Sorry if it got quite crude a moment ago. My apologies. Yeah, but I'm going to face the music with Graham and Fiona. Sorry, Graham and Fiona, for the crudity. My apologies. You know, and Stephen Magnus, he's a decent, friendly man. Stephen Magnus himself. You know, goodness gracious, there's so many to list out. Wow, yeah. Nutmeg, lovely lady Nutmeg. She's always kindly and friendly. Judith Owen, another example. Inish Fenwick is another example. Nice friend Inish. Castle. Oh, Castle is always wonderful. Castle. But I think we'll leave it at that because the list is so long, and if I say all of them, not only will I become slow talking about it, and will my brain start to slow down and thought process begin to cognitively slow down and things if I try and keep going in complete, fullest of captivated depth of all the friends I've been fortunate to have befriended through Graham and Fiona themselves, I'm gonna be slow. I'm gonna be slow as a snail when talking, and one wouldn't want that from me, would they? Oh no. But no offence when saying this, of course. I really greatly apologise if I caused offence. But Graham, honestly, Graham and Fiona both provide brilliant content, whether it's them having a chat when they're going out for a meal in Gibraltar, or having a chat when they're on their boat, or having a chat if they're in a park or on a bus, or visiting a nice point of interest of a certain place, or whenever it's Graham having fun or relishing the thrill on his VR flight simulator gaming and all that, and teaching others how to fly on the flight simulator, or people aspiring pilots and things, It's always fantastic content. I mean, I'm really wishing I'd never doubted Graham and Fiona's content. I never really doubted it, but I just wasn't sure about viewing it. But the more I heard from Graham and all the friendliness in his personality, and then the live stream, and just the community, I mean, the connection and the friendliness and the bonding between the friendship, and how the friendship really begins between everybody when they're doing a live stream, it's just strongly phenomenal. And I must say, it can be quite moving in a few bits and pieces and all that. And all of the friends I'd encountered through Graham and Fiona, honestly, I really do not take them for granted, because little did I think I'd ever befriend such wonderful friends around the world. I really didn't think I'd befriend that many friends around the world through a wonderful couple like that of Graham and Fiona, or a veteran, a well-respected, decorated war hero, Trevor, who's not just a veteran, but he's very passionate in standing up for the rights of veterans and making sure all veterans get all the rightful respect of dignity that they truly deserve. And Trevor I think he's a very good, strong advocate for that. So always well done to Trevor for his strong advocacy on the respect and rights for our veterans who fought in all wars when serving in the armed forces. Veterans all around the world, not just British and Irish ones, to share a strong point here. But honestly, I never take any of my friends who I've befriended through Graham and Fiona for granted. No, really I don't. I do enormously appreciate the friendship I have with everybody I've been fortunately privileged enough to have befriended through the wonderful couple. And I regard them, like I said before, as one of my best friends. Same with Trevor too, and the Hutches. I regard them too as one of my best friends as well. And Sapper's one of my best friends too, Sapper himself. Even though we do a lot of naughty boy weight banter together, he's one of my best friends, I've certainly got to say, and all that. So, and it's visibly moving, the friendships I have with them, but there's one thing couldn't be more visibly moved, and some of the things they've said to me was just the complimentary things all of my new friends through Graham and Fiona have said to me. I mean, I couldn't appreciate it enough. And the little did I expect to receive a lot of unconditional love from the new friends I've befriended through Graham and Fiona. I would have thought it'd just be it's always one, hello, we're good friends and all that, but they express more than just friendship, but unconditional love in the friendship, and certainly very little did I expect this to happen to me. I mean, I don't know what I've done to deserve it or not, but I'm sure all of you could tell me all the same, So I was only just being good to people, because that was just the way I was just brought up that way. The way I was brought up was just to be good to people and respect them and all that, and always approach people properly and well. That was just the way I was brought up whenever I'm conversant with people, and if someone says a kindly response, I'm generally like, thank you for the kindly response. Sometimes say you really didn't have to, but thank you for your kind acknowledgement. Like your kind acknowledgement on me, or other sorts of things. I was brought up, with manners and things. And then sometimes before long, if I'm talking to somebody I've never spoken to before, or those I'm familiar with, honest, the unconditional love sometimes is just bomb right at me. But please don't worry. I'm extremely thankful and grateful, largely for whenever I receive it. Please do be assured on that. I would never go against unconditional love in a friendship. I think it's important. Since encountering Graham and Fiona, it's taught me the thorough importance of retaining unconditional love in a friendship. And it also did tell me that it's okay to love your friends. It doesn't matter it really is okay. Obviously one always loves their family, but it's also okay to love your friends too. And it really did teach me that, I think, because what taught me most on the bigger scale was to never shy away from expressing and showing love to my friends. Since encountering Graham, Fiona and Trevor, it really did teach me that, I think, to tell oneself odd things, And some of the complimentary things, like I said before, is visibly moving, but I'm not going to cry, but, and there's one thing that was said to me, the one most visibly moving thing that was said to me once before, through one of my greatest friends I'd encountered through Graham and Fiona, that couldn't be more visibly moving than what she said to me. It was one November 2023 evening. I think a lot of you already know of this story by now. I had a conversant conversation with my friend Michelle. I'd watched a video Graham and Fiona did, and I commented, and then Michelle had commented, and I liked what she said to Graham and Fiona and all that, and then I sent a reply and I complimented her and I said, that was really nice of you what you said to Graham and Fiona, thank you Michelle. I said, but if I came in at a wrong moment and caused a disturbance, I really very greatly apologise, because I was worried I'd said it to her at a bad moment, and that, because I wouldn't want to infringe on her privacy. I wouldn't want to infringe on anybody's privacy. Really I wouldn't. I certainly wouldn't. And she replied to me and she said, I'm not going to cry on this, but it is very visibly moving what she said to me. And she said, you are the epitome of a true gentleman through and through, which I would like to say is very refreshing in this day and age. What? Receiving something like that is moving visibly. I read, I read the reply, and as I was replying, tears were just rolling down my face, and as I was saying, I was just in tears with happiness, and all that. Little did I ever expect to receive something like that in all of my life. It means a lot, more than Michelle may have initially realised what she said. Because until I actually spoke to her about this on Graham and Fiona and all that, there was only one person, and one person who I could ever depict as the epitome of a true gentleman. Nobody other than that of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund. He was truly the epitome of a true gentleman, I mean, really he was, with his gentlemanly ways, his innate kindness and friendliness, and his extraordinarily captivated presence in his approach to people and everything. And all that he did, and the way he treated myself and my brother and all of my family when growing up. You know, he would always take, whenever seeing him, and my grandmother, whenever going over to my grandparents, he would always take us out, either on the bus or in his camper van, or because he used to have a camper van before sadly having to send it to scrap. And sometimes he and my grandmother would have nice holiday excursions on board it. And things. You know. And after losing my Edmund, I mean less than 5 years after losing my wonderful late grandfather Edmund, to be considered something that I could only ever depict in him, you know, it moves, it's extremely visibly moving, you know, and actually, you know, it took me completely by surprise, both emotionally and visibly, as well as moving me with great emotionality in the visibility of the depth of everything, when the compliment was politely thrown towards me. You know, all I was truly hoping was that I wouldn't make a complete fool of myself with whoever I was conversant with and everything, within Graham and Fiona's or Trevor or the Hutches community and all the rest of it. You know, I love Michelle. I mean, really I do. I mean, who couldn't, you know, who couldn't love Michelle after what she said to me, or all that she says to Graham and Fiona, because she's always just, I mean, honestly, she's just so well loved within the community, Graham and Fiona's community, you know, really she is. You know, and, you know, and when you know, the loss of Edmund, it devastated me greatly, myself and my family greatly, but it had the worst effect on my grandmother Anne, you know. And another one of my the things, all the memories I have of my Edmund that I'm going to cherish for a lifetime to come happily. You know, not only with all the valuable times I spent with him whenever seeing him and my grandmother when growing up, but also, you know, I was very close growing up to him, and the loss, you know, and he was a very big part of mine and my family's life, you know, and the loss, it was extremely great. Very, very great, to the point where it was, you know, devastating, as I've said many times before. You know, yes, I mean, I did eventually overcome the loss of my late grandfather Edmund, but it took me a long time to fully overcome it. And, you know, I mean, yes, I still miss him, and I always will miss him. And although I fully recovered and eventually overcame the loss in full, but it really took me a long time, you know, not only because I spent a lot of time with him whenever seeing him and my grandmother when growing up, because from the ages of, 7 to 13, they lived in the Brighton and Hove region, and I used to see them every month, and I used to see them more than every single month when they lived, at the time when they lived in the Brighton and Hove region. From ages 7 to 13, I saw them quite a lot. At that point, certainly every single month. It could sometimes be as many as about 3 to 4 times a month, and certainly every school holiday I used to spend a lot of time with them when they lived in the Brighton Hove region. And when they lived in the Brighton Hove region, sometimes it was either myself or my grandmother, or myself or my Edmund, we'd go out on the bus or in the camper van together. Sometimes we'd go into the Brighton town or Burgess Hill, or sometimes we'd even go to Shoreham and go on the Shoreham fort, or take a walk along the Shoreham, beside the Shoreham houseboats. Sometimes I even do it on my own at times, you know. So I have a lot of valuable memories of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund. Always did I thank them profusely for the outings and all the valuable times I spent with them. You know, but also I did feel sorry for my wonderful late grandfather Edmund, you know, because he wasn't very fortunate for health. Well, we had a poor medical history, says to someone who smoked for well over 30 years before suffering a severe heart attack and subsequent quadruple bypass surgery, and then as sadly a damaged esophagus once the bypass surgery was complete. You know, he didn't have good health for the latter 20 years of his life, but then, you know, my Edmund, he was diagnosed 19 months before his death, because it was, by this point, he and my grandmother were on the Isle of Wight. And though I didn't see them as much when on the Isle of Wight, when they lived on the Isle of Wight, I always made the effort to go nearly every school and college holidays, you know, and come over, you know, because I spent a lot of time with them whenever I could in my childhood, as well as spending time with my parents as well, and of course, and in other parts of my misspent youth as well. But get to the story. My late-grandfather Edmund, 19 months before his death, his saddening death, he was diagnosed with thrombocythemia. I mean, I'm not a medical expert, and I'm certainly not a medical health profession, but thrombocythemia, it's a type of blood cancer where you have too many red blood cells and platelets. And sadly, it's incurable, and there's no complete full-blown cure for it. But you can take prescribed medication to stop it getting worse. But at the time when he was diagnosed, he had aged visibly and lost weight, because at the time of his diagnosis he only weighed a very skinny 8 stone 2 pounds, which in the American neck of the woods is the equivalent of 114 pounds. And it's only around about 51 and a half kilos of weight, something like that. So he was nearly 3 stone lighter than I was at the time of his thrombocythemia diagnosis, just over 2 to 3 months before that of his 72nd birthday, and looking into his middle 90s at that point. Who, you know, I mean, and I remember, I can remember seeing him after his, about a month late after his diagnosis that August, and he took a walk to get a cup of tea, and then I saw my grandmother, and I remember just standing there and looking at her, and I was like, I can't believe it. I really can't. And I actually expressed that I was worried for him. I was really genuinely worried for him. But he was not diagnosed with thrombocythemia terminally. But as it turned out, thrombocythemia was his cause of death at the time of his death, you know, and we only just, you know, and it was a year later, you know, and it was that August of 2019 where I just knew that he was not gonna survive many more years. And you know, he'd lost weight. He'd lost over half a stone at 7 stone 8, or 106 pounds a year later at the time. You know, and I remember we were on the Isle of Wight steam railway together, and then we explored Haven Street train story, and one time we explored the gnome village of God's Hill. But I mean, I could have done this on my own, but it was good, even though we did spend a valuable time together. It came at the cost of worry, you know, because I remembered I was walking with him, and I worried about him a lot, and you know, and at this point, he couldn't walk very far anymore. He could fortunately still drive, but he was, you know, he couldn't. You know, we used to get the bus to Wootton together to go to the Isle of Wight steam railway, but you know, it would have just been too much for him to just stood around at the bus stop at this point, or even sit around at it, you know, and all that. You know, it was, you know, how did I find it? And I was, you know, it was a difficult thing to contemplate, you know, it's seeing him deteriorate that quickly in a year, you know, and age so much, well, probably about another 10 years in that year. Yeah, you know, he you know, and of course, he was such a wonderful grandfather, and I don't think we could have realised that something was going to go so fundamentally wrong, or so seriously wrong, within a year after his thrombocythemia diagnosis, but as it turns out, he did have thrombocythemia terminally, and and we only just found this out just after he died. And seeing him that August of 2019, I didn't think he was going to go as soon as 2020, but I didn't think he was going to make it past 76 or 77. I really couldn't have thought he'd make it past that age, but we really didn't think he was going to go that soon. So that was I think that could be a reason why that made his death so extremely devastatingly sad when it all happened, So yeah, but that's the story of my wonderful late grandfather. But one of the best things he and my grandmother used to tell me when I was a little boy was when he and his late older brother Paul used to see steam trains running near the back of their home garden in Woolston in Hampshire, back in the 1950s. And all that, because Edmund, who was only 73 at the time of his death, so he didn't live to a particularly old age, poor man. Not everybody lives a long life, and I know longevity is generally increasingly popular as the month and time goes by, but but doesn't mean that everybody's going to live into old age, unfortunately. Sadly, sad as it is, but that's as truth has things, sadly. But I thought I'd share the story of my wonderful late grandfather Edmund. And I remember Harriet once, when she first heard me talking about my wonderful late grandfather Edmund, she was like, I have such a soft spot for you since I heard you talking about your wonderful late grandfather. And even sometimes when I talk to her, and there's unconditional love and almost friendly chemistry in our friendship too. And she's like, oh, I am just fond of you, she sometimes so says. And yes, I have a soft spot for you, indeed I do. And all that. So, yes. But all the content Graham and Fiona provide, it's brilliant. And I have to say, Graham, and certainly Fiona too, we appreciate you, and certainly do we cherish and enormously value all the content you provide for all of us to watch most sincerely, be it content for us to publicly view or for the memberships to view and all that. So Graham, Fiona, big thank you and great big thumbs up to both of you. But Graham, big thumbs up and big congratulations on receiving more than 9.6k subscribers. I think by the time this is uploaded, you'll probably be achieving the 9.65k subscriber milestone. So, well done and congratulations on your subscriber milestone. I really, really do sincerely hope you will make the 10k subscriber milestone by 2025. I really do hope so. I certainly do hope you achieve 10k subscribers before the end of 2024 or by early 2025. Fingers crossed. Hopefully it will happen. Thanks everybody all indeed for watching, and for those of you who are not familiar with Graham's channel, the link to his main channel will be found in the description below, and also the link, he's got a flying channel where he does the VR flight sim videos generally, but sometimes he does vlogging videos talking about, pilot values and, people, aspiring pilots and all that. He does videos also with him making those represented presentations, verbally spoken so on that channel too. So that channel also will be linked underneath. He also does airgun reviews, so that will also be linked as well. I don't watch that one all the time, but I do watch it for whenever I can get around to it. And also the link to Fiona's channel, because I don't think there's some of you who've seen it. I know most of you are watching are almost certainly enormously familiar of Fiona's channel. That will be linked to, I think it's Heather. I think Heather herself is not entirely remotely familiar of Fiona's channel. So the link to not just Heather herself, but others who are not familiar of Fiona's channel, that will also be linked down below. And Fiona did have a subscriber milestone back in June of 2024, reaching 35k subscribers. Now she's got more than 36k, and I certainly hope she hits the 40k by 2025. Well done, Graham, on over 9.6k plus subscribers. Well done to you indeed, and congratulations. Bring it on for popularity, and congratulations, and 3 cheers for Graham the Baron Hesketh. 3 cheers to you indeed. Thanks all for watching. Congratulations to Graham. I shall certainly see you in the next video. Ta-ta for now indeed. Goodbye, and good night, and may your God go with you. Stay safe, everybody, as Trevor Colt would so rightly and cautiously but advise in his firm but friendly way. Goodbye, and may your good wishes be bringing you great expectations of happiness.